Hey there guys, SaintsKnight here, welcoming you guys back to a channel after a long hiatus. Apologies about that, but anyways, it is 2019, so hope you guys had a good Christmas and a great New Year. I mean, I certainly did. I mean, I'm not going to say what I did, but it's been a good one. Whilst it was in the new year, I was reflecting on 2018, and there were a lot of good films and some bad ones. Actually, 2018 was a fantastic year for films. We saw the likes of like Bohemian Rhapsody, Avengers, Mary Poppins, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and all that sort of stuff. But I thought, why don't I make two separate lists? One for the top 10 best, which is what we're covering today, and top 10 worst films of 2018, which is going to be an interesting one for the worst one, but that's then, and this is now. Now, I will do the top 10 best films of 2018. Now, if you guys want my, these are all going to be like bare bones explanations. If you want an in-depth discussion on why I think it's a such and such and all that sort of stuff, we will actually all bar two of these films actually have film reviews. So once that I do have the ones that we do have film reviews for, I will leave a link in the description down below for the reviews of those movies. And as well, if you agree, great. If you don't, great. This is just my personal opinion. Take this list with a grain of salt. And I actually want to know what you guys think. Leave your comments down below on what you think are the top 10 best films of 2018. So without further ado, let's dive in. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to keep seeing these sort of lists on the channel, you know what to do. Don't forget to smash the thumbs up button. So without further ado, let's dive into number 10. And number 10 on this list, I'm going to go for something that wasn't released in cinemas in the United Kingdom, which was a bit disappointing. Actually, it wasn't not released, but it was released at a limited screening, which was a shame, because number 10 spot goes to Annihilation, which is this sci-fi movie made by the same people who did Ex Machina, who did a fantastic, which again is another sci-fi film I like. Annihilation I didn't do a review on, sadly, but I gotta say Annihilation was probably one of the best sci-fi movies out there. It was a really good, really fantastic sci-fi movie for me. It wasn't too boring. It wasn't too boring. Basically the monster design and all was actually really intriguing. The lore of it was fascinating, and the characters were actually, some of the characters were intriguing. The reasons why that it isn't higher up on the list, or it isn't at number 76 or something, is because if I were to review it, I would have given it a 7 out of 10 because of its pacing issues. It drags on for too long. Well, it drags on a little bit in certain sections, and some of the plot points either hit a dead end or become bleh. And two, it wasn't a very big screening. I had to watch it myself on Netflix, which goes to show how limited screening it was. So Annihilation gets the number 10 spot despite that, because it's a very good, enjoyable sci-fi movie. And changing up of things, at number 9 we have the latest in a long series, Ocean's 8, which I think is the all-female Ocean's movie. And before a lot of you people start to hate it and try and compare it to the Ghostbusters reboot, first of all, I like the Ghostbusters remake better than the first one. So go ahead, come at me, bruh. And second of all, the casting in this was absolutely fantastic. Helena Bonham Carter, actually, the characters were superb. The actual heist itself was actually really good. And apart from a few mismatches here and there, for example, Aquafina or Aquafina, or however you pronounce her name, It was a pretty good one. As I said, I have done a review for this one, so if you want a little bit more detail as to why I think Ocean's 8 was a good movie, a 7 out of 10 I believe I gave it, then check out the link in the description down below. But yeah, great acting, actually great acting by the all-female cast, actually a great setup for the heist, a great heist execution, and it was actually really funny now that I think about it. I think that this was probably my favorite Ocean's movie, and I really liked Ocean's 11. The original with Frank Sinatra and the rest of the Brat Pack. Not the George Clooney ones. Maybe I liked a little bit of Ocean's 12, but yeah. So yeah, Ocean's 8 gets the number 9 spot. And as for the number 8 spot, that goes to what I think is probably the only horror movie actually on here. A Quiet Place. Now, a lot of you are going to be shocked because you would have expected A Quiet Place to be a little bit higher. Well, again, I did a review for it, link in the description. And at the time, I gave it something like a 9 out of 10. And honestly, now that I look back on it, I shouldn't give it that high a rating. Don't get me wrong, is it a good movie? Yes. John Krasinski's direction is brilliant. The acting is superb. It's intense. It's scary. It actually made me stay silent, and it actually did make me not want to eat my popcorn because it would have been too loud. And when a movie like this does that job superbly, then you know that it knocks it out of the park. So I would change the rating that I gave it. I'd knock it like one lower from a 9 to an 8, but that's still a really, really good movie for me, and I really did enjoy A Quiet Place. It was probably the only horror movie that I actually enjoyed for a long while. I think the last one was actually apart from it, the only other like relatively new horror movie that I enjoyed was probably like the very first Saw movie, which is a long way away. So that goes to show how long it's been since there's been a good, decent horror movie out, and I cannot wait for the next one, even though I am a little bit skeptical because second movies usually blah, unless you're Empire Strikes Back, in which case, But yeah, A Quiet Place takes the number 8 spot on this list. Now for the number 7 spot, which is a sort of a nostalgia ride for kids of the 1980s and anyone who basically grew up with. If you guys grew up with Steven Spielberg, you would recognize this. You would recognize like one thing in this movie, and that, my friends, is Ready Player One. Now, Ready Player One. Again, actually, Ready Player One. Did a review for it. Link in the description. It is a great movie. It is fantastic. Actually, the main reason why I rank Ready Player One at number 7 is because it actually it captivated me, and some of it is a little bit childhood nostalgia, but the CGI and effects were fantastic. The acting was superb, despite being mostly like I would say child actors, but relatively unknown actors. Let's just say. Well, apart from Olivia Cook, but apart from that, and Ben Mendelsohn, Sarah Paxton. Okay, mostly relatively new cast. The set pieces are fantastic. The end, like stuff in this like virtual world, is fantastic. Why it isn't higher is because the rest of the movie, when it's in the real world, is a bit bland and a bit boring. Honestly, they should have like gutted that out. But anyways, I'll save that for I'll save what I think for the actual review, which you can check again in the description down below. Okay, you know, I'll say when I've reviewed a lot of these movies. But anyway, yeah, Ready Player One is a fun, entertaining ride and a very good movie, a nostalgia trip if you're a child of the 80s or if you grew up watching Steven Spielberg movies like E.T. and E.T., Hook, any Steven Spielberg movie or any Robert Zemeckis movie actually, because he was the one who actually directed it actually. So yeah, Ready Player One gets the number 7 spot on this list. Now for number six, this is the only comedy that I've actually put on this list, which is a surprise actually, because you'd think the comedies would actually, there would be a lot of comedies that would be higher up, but no. Actually, the only one that I have at the number 6 spot is Tag. Now again, I've reviewed this, so I'm going to keep it short. Now, Tag, I was looking forward to this for, I was looking forward to Tag for quite a while, and when it actually met my expectations, I actually felt a huge sigh of relief, because not only was the acting superb in it, but all the jokes were funny, and basically the entire premise was stupid. Like the longest game of tag ever. And like one person hasn't been tagged, and yet all of them get to go. The tag is one guy. That's what I like. A comedy should be stupid. It shouldn't take itself too seriously, which I will admit at the end it did, but it handled it right. But also, it knew when to up the laughs. And I gave it a 9 out of 10, which I wholeheartedly 100% agree with. Why it isn't higher is because there have been a lot of, actually there have been like 500 movies on this list that I think are better, but that doesn't take it away from the fact that Tag is a really good comedy, probably the best comedy of the year, and I highly recommend it to anyone who actually wants to laugh for a little bit. So Tag gets the number 6 spot on this list. Number 5 is another nostalgia-fueled trip for myself, honestly, because number 5 is Christopher Robin. Now, if you guys don't know, if you guys haven't had your childhood filled with Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, and all his friends, honestly, what the fuck have you been doing with your life? You haven't really had a childhood unless you, well, I think that you haven't had much of a childhood unless you've heard about the tales and adventures of Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, Rabbit, Christopher Robin, and all of his friends. And the idea of a older Christopher Robin was a bit meh for me at first, but as I watched it, I grew more and more in love with it. And honestly, it reminded me of myself, and I really, really loved this movie. Throughout, I had a huge smile on my face. And when a movie actually makes me grin a lot and makes me relive my childhood memories quite a lot, you honestly get a high grade in my books. And again, I've reviewed this as well. Link, you know where it is. So yeah, Christopher Robin gets the number 5 spot on this list because of the nostalgia trip around it. It's funny, it's entertaining, it's heartfelt, and honestly, if they didn't get Jim Cummings for the voices of like Winnie the Pooh and all that, it would have been complete trash, which is why I'm glad that they did, and that's why Christopher Robin gets the number 5 spot. Now we come on to the most difficult of all of them, the top 4. Now why is this tough? Each and every single one of these movies, from number 4 to number 1, are all 10 out of 10, which made it incredibly difficult to actually choose what order to put them. So, it took me months actually to think about this, but now I have actually reached a conclusion. So at number 4, I have to go with Incredibles 2. Now, Incredibles 2 for me was a movie that I've been waiting for years and years and years, because I grew up with the very first Incredibles. I think the Incredibles 1 was actually the very first Pixar movie that I myself have ever watched, and I will be honest, I was a little bit worried, because would it be as good like now with the sequel after it reached the high expectations that I actually had for myself? And I'm glad to report that actually yes it does exceed my expectations and then some. Now again, if you want like more in-depth analysis on it, I've got a link in the description down below, because we reviewed this. All the top 4 movies I've reviewed, links in the description. Anyway, every single thing about it was superb. The animation, the acting, the set pieces, the comedy, everything about this. There are too many things off the top of my mind to actually say, wow, this is a really good movie. And this is probably one of Pixar's finest movies ever. Now, because and that is a lot to say, I know, because Pixar have been doing like good movies like Toy Story, Monsters Inc., Bugs Life, Bugs Life, and all those others. But Incredibles 2, I stand to think, is Pixar at its finest. Many people thought Pixar was going, but now this is Pixar at its finest, and that's why this gets number 4 spot on this list. Now number 3. Now we're into the top 3. Number 3 goes to Bohemian Rhapsody. Now, if you guys have been watching this channel in 2018, you would know that that I love Queen. In fact, so much that I actually had 2 videos, a review and trailer reaction. The trailer reaction, actually they both did amazingly well, which means you guys love this movie as well, and it shows. Honestly, I love this movie because not only do I love Queen, not only was the soundtrack amazing because I love Queen, not only did Rami Malek look the part and sound the part of Freddie, not only did everyone look the part, not just those, but this was a movie that actually made me cry a lot. That's a common theme about these 3. They all made me cry. This one because it was astounding and it was spellbinding. It was superb. I loved every single moment of this movie. And honestly, I don't care that it's historically inaccurate. I don't care about all those. If you're trying to captivate the audience by getting a relatable character with like a big set piece and all, if you're trying to captivate audiences who not only love Queen but also don't like Queen, if you could do that, then you've done an amazing job. And I have to give it to the directors, the cinematographers, everything. I have to give everything to the people who actually made Bohemian Rhapsody like it is. Because if the movie had been made with like Sacha Baron Cohen, I believe, who was originally supposed to be Freddie Mercury, it would have sucked. I'm glad. I think at the time of recording, I think the Golden Globes were just announced, and Rami Malek actually won Best Actor, and Bohemian Rhapsody won Best Drama of 2018, and thank God, because not only does Bohemian Rhapsody actually deserve it, Rami Malek also deserves high praise because because Rami absolutely nailed it, knocked it out of the park, and that's why Bohemian Rhapsody gets a number 3 on this list. Number 2 now. Number 2 is probably the latest of the movies released in 2018. It was one of the last movies of 2018, and it was still one of the best. So good, in fact, I actually saw it 3 times, and counting, because I'm planning on seeing this more. The number 2 spot goes to another childhood classic, Mary Poppins Returns. Now, Mary Poppins Returns, I'm annoyed that I didn't get a review of this because, well, for Christmas and all, being like too busy spending with families and all that, but I'm so mad that I didn't get this reviewed out there because, oh my god, I mean, I didn't expect this movie to actually top. I couldn't anticipate this movie actually topping or being nearly as good as the original. And not only is it as good as it exceeds it. I mean, again, this is another movie that actually made me tear up. It made me and my girlfriend actually tear up. And if you can get me to actually tear up at Mary Poppins, something off, then you've done such an amazing job. And Emily Blunt as well. All the cast is fantastic. Everything is fantastic. And I have to give credit to about 3 people. Emily Blunt's portrayal of Mary Poppins was a fantastic one. Probably exceeds Julie Andrews, because Julie Andrews, I mean, as much as I like Mary Poppins, I've read the books and she isn't Mary Poppins, whereas Emily Blunt actually read the books. Her adaptation is more closer to the books. why I love her portrayal more. Second person I'm going to give props to is Ben Whishaw. Now, I wouldn't think that Q would actually be able to play a convincing Michael Banks, but his portrayal is captivating. His portrayal is absolutely flawless, and he actually made me tear up. And lastly, the songwriters, whoever the songwriters are, I'm sorry, I don't even have your names, but my God, you have done a fantastic job at not only creating songs that work well with this movie, but you have also done a fantastic job of creating timeless classics that people will listen to for generations and generations to come, as almost more so than Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious and basically any single Mary Poppins song. You've somehow managed to top every single one of them, and I gotta give props to each and every single songwriter that is on here. And yeah, as I said, all the top four I gave 10 out of 10, and Mary Poppins again was exceptional. This was probably one of only 2 movies that I actually watched more than once, because it was heartfelt, it was captivating, and it actually brought a tear to my heart, and probably a lot of people in the actual movie theater. So there we are, Mary Poppins Returns. It's the number 2 spot on this list. Now to the moments we've all been waiting for. The number 1. I considered Bohemian Rhapsody and Mary Poppins Returns for number 1, but in the end, I think it's pretty obvious what number 1 should be. The number 1 spot on this list, my best movie and favorite movie of 2018, goes to Avengers Infinity War. I have never ever seen a movie like this. I have never experienced anything that like the experience that Infinity War has actually given me. Every single thing about it was amazing, it was magical, and above all, it was really brilliant. Not only and this is a huge praise for me, because this could have gone wrong in so many ways, because a lot of like every single Marvel character crammed into this movie could have actually been a complete disaster. But in the hands of Joe and Anthony Russo, Marvel and the Russo brothers have created a timeless classic that would be compared to the likes of Citizen Kane, Gone with the Wind, Wizard of Oz, countless of other like greatest movies ever. Not only do they give us possibly one of the best action movies of all time, they've actually given us one of the best movie villains of all time, in the form of Josh Brolin's Thanos, who again had brought a tear to my eye. I was literally bathed in a puddle of my own tears after watching Infinity War. Now, as I said, Mary Poppins Returns I watched 3 times. Infinity War, I've seen in the cinemas about 6 times. That's right, 6 times, and every single time I always get teary-eyed. I always cry at this movie, and when I cry, and even like just yesterday, I bought the Blu-ray for this, and again, I still cried over watching it. And when a movie actually does that, whenever a movie just time and time again manages to recap on multiple viewings, manages to recapture the emotion, the drama, the intensity of the very first viewing, then you have a movie that is guaranteed to be a timeless classic. And honestly, this is probably not only the greatest superhero movie of all time, but perhaps one of the best movies of all It's a huge claim, I know, but it deserves it. Every single thing about Infinity War was perfect. And it gets me amped up for Avengers Endgame, which you know I will be reviewing on this channel. So yeah, with all that being said, Avengers Infinity War is my favorite movie of 2018 and possibly the best movie of the best movie over the last 18 years plus. That is how good it is. So there we are. Those are my top 10 best films of 2018. What did you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I want to know your thoughts. I want to know your opinions. So whatever they are, leave them in the comments down below. And apart from that, I'm afraid it is now time to end today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy that. If you did, please smash the thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and if you're not new, then don't forget to click the bell icon to get notified of all of our upcoming videos, including my worst films of 2018, Game Lord and I's best and worst films, and Aaron One Shot's best and worst films of the year as well. So until the next time, guys, we'll see you in the next video. Until then, it's your boy SaintsKnight here, signing off.